What is up, guys? It is with great pleasure that I present myself as alive in the channel after a week. I'm not going to get into details of what happened, but just know that I got sick again, and on top of that, I just could not deal with anything. Nothing was going right outside of the channel, and I said, I just don't have time for this. And I just had to address other stuff. But like I always say, I ain't going nowhere. I may be late, but I come back. Someone in the comments had reminded me that I have yet to go over this topic, which is super interesting, and that is the Mandela Effect. And if you're not aware of what the Mandela Effect is, from what I understand, it is some kind of collective misremembering. It's like most people might remember seeing a picture or a historical fact that they thought they learned, and for some reason you completely made up that memory. It's a false memory. It's something that you're remembering plain old wrong. I have been a victim of this myself a few times. And what I have decided to do is I looked up a list of commonly known Mandela effects, because if I try to think up what mine are personally, it's gonna take me a while to get my mind together on that. So what I can say is that from the lists that I have read, there are so many that I actually relate to. So I'm just going to pull a list up that I had read a while back, and then hopefully I'll be able to put it together and be like, oh yeah, I remember this, no, I remember that, yada yada. So, with that out of the way, if you wish to follow along with where I'm reading from, I am on a website called goodhousekeeping.com, and the title of this is 40 Mandela Effect Examples That Will Blow Your Mind. And the first one starts off with, well, the first paragraph is pretty much an explanation, but I think I defined it pretty well, so we're going to like skip over that. And the first example is, of course, explaining the origin of the so called Mandela effect. And yes, it comes from that one politician, Nelson Mandela. And people call it the Mandela effect because everyone, for some reason, thought that he died in prison back in the 1980s. Everyone thought that's what they learned in history class. And to be fair, I personally went into my adulthood thinking that he's been dead, because you would think that someone as inspiring and quoting, like frequently quoted, he doesn't trend, nobody talks about him, nobody writes about him, or at least I wasn't perceiving his influence as much as I perceived it while I was studying about him. So I thought that the dude was just dead, and that's why we never discuss him outside of school. But it turns out that he was alive until 2013, and I remember when this was trending. And I said to myself, why? When? How? Did you resuscitate? Because I had anyone asked me up to that point, Zam, what do you think about Nelson Mandela? Or is he still alive? Or is he dead? Like, if I would have had a child and they tell me about Mandela, I would have been like, yeah, this guy died back in the day. I wasn't even born for that. But yeah, I'm bullshitting my child, and I would have been so embarrassed. But at the same time, what is going on? Why do we remember that he was dead when that never really happened? So, with that said, this opens up some opportunities, some windows for some people to claim that there is either a parallel universe or that this is entirely a conspiracy. Like some people think that the misremembering that we perform is actually factual, but the people who are in charge of where we obtain our information tends to alter that. So let's say that you read the Mandela died from a newspaper. What's to keep the newspaper from lying about it? And on the note of parallel universes, I am a believer sometimes that the exact life that I'm living, someone else is living, just tailored to their environment. But I definitely feel like I have existed more than one time. And I definitely feel like at some point in history, someone looked either exactly the same or very similar to me and sounded like me. Because if you think about it, music, we define it as eternal. Like you can come up with so many different patterns, so many different sounds. So therefore music shouldn't really end. But for me personally, I'm thinking at some point you will be able to exploit how many patterns you can come up with. The concept of infinity is so hard for me to wrap my head around, but just because I have a tough time picturing that doesn't mean that it's not possible. It's not a thing. I personally want to say that everything has its beginning and its end. I cannot fathom infinity. So, I like to say that at some point we will exploit all of the possible music patterns. And the reason I say that is because I'm thinking we've been around for so long that at some point, even if we are incredibly diverse, like we have so many different continents, so many different climates and whatnot, different cultures, all that stuff, at some point, DNA just has to repeat. I find it impossible to accept that you cannot ever produce the same result again. Like, say, someone who looks like me cannot happen again. Why? But when I think about it critically, I'm thinking it could be somewhat impossible for that to happen. Someone similar to me can come about more than someone exactly like me, only because by the time that this product comes about, like the product that would be exactly like me, their background and heritage would be so much different from mine. So I find it hard to wrap my head around that. So I don't know. I really don't know what to think about that one. But all I can say is that I used to be one of those people who thought that freaking Mandela had been dead since the 20th century. And yeah, not that he was around until 2013. Let me catch up with the lovely comments. I promise you that I'm going to stay alive for all 40 examples that are present in this little article. And that way we can catch up because I know I've been gone for a little while. And I also want to be caught up with the comments. Hello, Garuda. Hello, Jordan. And Philip says, I wonder if people conflate Nelson Mandela and Stephen Biko. Both were imprisoned and mistreated in prison. Both were jailed by the British and many other similarities. What's happening? This is happening. But yeah, nothing really new to report. I just got sick again, as I was saying in my intro, in case you missed it. And I just had to be gone for a little bit. Mistreated in prison, jailed by the British. I think stories of people who have been prisoners, I feel like we tend to associate them with folks who don't live very long lives afterward. And that is not necessarily the case. We have all these veterans who like served in Vietnam and whatnot, and some of these folks are kicking around. Some of these folks had been prisoners themselves at some point, and they're still around. Why is it that I individually, when I say, oh, since you were exposed to those circumstances, you probably are going to get sick or something and just not live a very long life. These people tend to outlive generations sometimes. Like, we have instances when young people just die under random circumstances. And you're thinking, that person is like so young. Why are they gone? It seems unfair and something that shouldn't happen, but that's just life. You are not immune to things happening to you. But yeah, I always thought that was odd when I learned that Mandela had died in 2013 and I saw that trending. I was just shooketh. I'm like, I went to school and I remembered history all wrong. But I think that as someone who was not there to like in the 80s as this stuff was happening, you are more than likely to create a false memory about something once you learn about it after the fact and only through books, because your imagination tends to paint its own little pictures and is not always necessarily accurate. Today, I was looking at this channel while I was waiting on some food to be ready, and it's this lady from, I think is the Looper channel or something like that. I saw the host, like this lady I have been hearing in these videos all this time. I've been watching that channel for about 3 years now. And I finally saw her hosting, like actually presenting the videos that she usually voices over. She looked absolutely nothing like what I imagined. And this happens to me so painfully often. Like, I can never picture the person correctly. The only person I have pictured correctly from the sound of their voice was Amy Lee of Evanescence. For some reason, the first time I heard her music was like, or their music, I was like 9 or 10. My cousin introduced me to them, and I was like, for some reason, I think that this lady is kind of short. She has black hair, maybe medium length, but a little longer. And she definitely had long hair back then. And I feel like she has blue eyes. I thought that Amy Lee had blue eyes for the longest time, but apparently they're supposed to be green. And I'm like, I just cannot tell the difference between blue and green eyes. Because when I was young, I got it wrong a few times. And there were people in my class. I'll never forget this girl, Katie, in my seventh grade class. I was like swearing to her that I was seeing her eyes as blue. And of course, she was arguing with me, telling me, no, they're not blue, they're brown. No, they're not blue, they're brown. And I, like, the year after, 8th grade, I looked at her face again. And I was like, what happened to your blue eyes? And then, of course, in my terms, in her mind, she must have been like, bitch, I've never had blue eyes. What is wrong with you? Like, I have been in my body long enough to know that I've never had blue eyes and that my eyes are not blue. But for some reason, I don't know why, I thought that fucking girl had blue eyes. And we actually were pretty tight. We used to talk a lot back then. And we hung out. And I don't know why. I just thought that girl had blue eyes. And something else that I think about individually that I feel is Mandela Effect ish is Saddam Hussein. I used to think that he died in 2003. but I think that was the year that his something happened that year. I think that was his last year governing or something. I don't know. Don't quote me on that. I don't remember. I didn't study that. But I know that something happened with him in 2003, and it turns out that the date of his execution was in 2006. That was the year it happened. I don't know why the hell I keep thinking that happened in 2003. Maybe it's because his name was all over the news, and at some point it just really wasn't until his actual execution happened. And I'm like, why are we still talking about this man when he's gone? But it turns out he was not gone. But anyway, I'm going to continue with some examples from here. Another example that this gives is that peanut butter brand, which peanut butter is nasty, called Jif. People call it Jiffy for some reason. I know I have heard people call it Jiffy, but I don't feel like I remember seeing that it was called Jiffy. I feel like I remember it being Jif. But I can see why people might trip that because you're looking at a cylinder and you really don't see anything like the other sides of it. It's really hard to describe sides on something that's cylindrical or circular, but you just see GIF, and it's very tempting for your brain to want to fill in the gap. Like, given the size of the text on the front of the label, like what would be considered the front of the label, I can see why people would want to fill it in and say Jiffy. But I personally have always remembered that peanut butter brand as Jif. So, what is wrong with you? People swear there was Jiffy peanut butter back in the day, but we speculate they're combining Jif with its competitor Skippy. That's very possible. Very possible. I never thought about it like that. Let's see what the comments are saying. I hope you will be better. I'm sure it'll be better. However, I can manage, you know. Muggin says, "Hey, peanut butter is good. My freaking boyfriend gives me the toughest time with that. He's like, I love peanut butter. Peanut butter is amazing. Peanut butter ice cream. Peanut butter this. Peanut butter that. Why am I low battery? I just started. This is crazy. This is telling me I have low battery when I just got started. So let me do something auxiliary here. Oh, it doesn't show me my battery level. Anyway, I'm hoping that that fixes the problem. But my freaking boyfriend is always telling me, I like peanut butter. I like peanut butter ice cream. I like peanut butter candy. I like peanut butter chocolate, this and that. And I'm like, you fucking monster. Like, sometimes I'm thinking, I'm going to be excited about this snack because it has chocolate. And then I look at the additional ingredients and I see peanut butter. I get so upset. But I will choose peanut butter, chocolate, anything over chocolate coffee any day. I would rather choose, actively pick peanut butter, consume peanut butter over anything coffee any day of my life. There is just no way, shape, form, color, taste, size, whatever that makes me be able to handle coffee. Coffee just does not do well with this girl. Like, no amount of sugar, no amount of cream, no amount of milk, no amount of nothing in this life makes coffee attractive to me. And hi! Peanut butter and jelly is the best, Amber. You're missing out. No! Peanut butter is not necessary in my life. What is necessary in my life is almond butter. Almond butter. Almond butter. That's all you need. Almonds. Almonds. Not peanuts. Almonds. Repeat after me. Almond butter is superior to peanut butter. That is a fact, not an opinion. As long as you're in this little square right here, this little rectangle, this region, this zone of YouTube, almond butter is superior. Nothing else. Oh my god. When I have a food disagreement with someone, food is something that's like so like sacred to me that when I hear someone disagreeing with me, I just want to like tear them apart. So that's why I went really dramatic there. I am known for that. But I understand people are different. I don't even eat chicken. You are not the first human I encounter who does not eat chicken. And it's not because of dietary limitations. Like, say, someone who decided to go vegan or vegetarian 20 years ago and they just stay away from it. But there are people who have expressed that they actively do not like chicken. I personally am not wild about chicken that is so fried that it becomes unrecognizable. But if you season it a specific way, I can see why that can be attractive. But there's people who make a big deal out of the chicken not being super fried. I don't like when the chicken is kind of like weird in the inside, like still feels, let's call it sticky in the inside. It's weird, but I don't know why people like to see their chicken fried all the way to the soul. I don't get it. Fried chicken is not that amazing. You know what is amazing? Roasted chicken, grilled chicken. That is amazing. Smoked chicken, pulled chicken. That mess is out of this world. But fried chicken? Please. Please. I think fried chicken is overrated, just in case you don't get what I'm saying. Oh man. Let's see. Get well. I don't want you to be sick. I don't want to be sick either, but my body just sucks. And honestly, it's my fault. It's a combination of me not taking good care of myself as well as I was accustomed to, succumbing to like my schedule is terrible, the weather is terrible, this and that. Just in a sense, I'm letting stuff get to me, but at the same time, hey, I'm a human. There's only so much I can handle, and it's okay to be like weak here and there. But just because this stuff is happening to me doesn't mean that my life is like falling apart. Nah, it's it's just stuff that happens in life. But I have been feeling a whole lot better, and I am definitely seeing the difference as well. But yeah, I'm trying. Just believe me when I say that I'm trying. People just have bad memories and they cannot accept it. That's true. Because there are times in which I am like, I know that I actually have a pretty good memory, but when I realize that I am wrong at remembering something, I had the toughest time admitting that I was wrong. But nowadays, if I'm unsure, I have become mature enough to be like, hey, I'm not entirely sure how this went exactly, but I think one time you told me about this and that. How did that pan out? Did it work out like you wanted it to? Yes? No? Okay. But you do remember what I'm talking about, right? And then the person goes like, yeah, it was actually A, B, and C. And I'm like, okay, I knew it was somewhere there. I just needed to like be back on track, put myself back on track, because I just legitimately, it's been a long time, whatever the reason, and I just knew that this was pending, but I just could not piece it together. Usually that's what happens. But I mean, I had the toughest time accepting that I was not remembering something right. And I'm like, no, I actually pay attention. I got good listening skills. I write a lot. So like my memory is good, but there is a difference between a you memorizing things, being told things when you are in a setting that supports your learning versus you being told things when you're on the go, when you're mentally absent, and when you are stressed. If you're telling me something when I am like fresh out of work, you can forget it. I'm not going to be useful. I'm not going to remember. I'm not going to be functioning as a human. So just do not tell me anything essential within the first 3 hours of me leaving work. That is the time that I need to like unwind and put myself back together. But I find that that nighttime is the best time to tell me things because I'm like chill and mellow and resting. And my greatest conversations and the ones that I remember most actively have happened at nighttime. And I was a child who was never read to. So like I cannot be like, oh yeah, well my mom used to read me stories to sleep. So since a young age, I've been training my brain to process information and retain it. Nothing like that. Like you guys know that as soon as I watch a movie, I try to review it, and I forget it. Like I have the worst memory retention. But for other things, things that perhaps I attach meaning to and significance to, I can remember that mess forever. Forever and ever and ever. Um, where am I at? We were still talking trash about peanut butter, right? Yep. Your boyfriend in love with peanut butter, nothing wrong with that. It is wrong. At least he refrains from it. Like he doesn't get it with frequency, and I don't usually like pick up the scent, but it bothers me. It wants to bother me, but now I'm like, it's okay. I mean, he is not wild about coconut, and I'm like, how are you not wild about coconut? Coconut is so much more superior of an experience. Like chocolate and coconut together, you just cannot mess that up. Like that is amazing, appetizing, any moment of the day. But you're trying to tell me that you prefer peanut butter? You will create a milkshake and you will use peanut butter ice cream? Why? If there's coconut available, or heaven forbid, if you have almond and chocolate ice cream pre-made and you decide to not blend that with milk, what is wrong with you? Why would you prefer peanut butter? And so anytime that happens, I try to imagine a life in which my taste is different, a life in which I favor the things that I dislike. And I just cannot imagine that. I feel like I have never been alive. Like, I've never been reincarnated into a form in which I can like those things. Like, I just feel like I have never been alive where I like peanut butter. Like whenever peanut butter was officially created, like this paste made from, let's say, grinding peanuts, however long that's been a method that made peanut butter or peanuts being in paste form exist, I cannot fathom a life in which I like them. But I can handle peanuts, like the peanut. I can eat it like that. But peanut butter, something about it in butter form just messes me up. I can mess with like honey roasted peanut butter, but in very small doses. Just very small. It's pretty much like a nibble of it. And maybe if I have it with bread and then somehow add more sweetener to the bread, maybe. Like, say, some kind of raisin bread, and then throw honey roasted peanut butter in it. I can sort of mess with that, even though it's not a good combo. But I need another flavor to distract me from the peanut butter situation. Oh almond butter is great too. It is greater. Greater. Maybe it is superior because it is. I found your channel again. Hey, hello, William. William, I cannot say I remember you, but it's good to have you. I always like seeing relatively new faces around. I am plant based, so I don't eat chicken either. I have had imitation chicken, which is pretty much like people treating tofu like it's supposed to be fake chicken, fake meat. It doesn't work like that. I'm sorry, it just doesn't. Grilled tofu is great, but there is no true replacement for chicken. You just cannot replace chicken with something else and try to sell it to me as, oh yeah, this is chicken. No, it's kind of like Chinese restaurants always left me with a weird feeling. I have ordered sesame chicken from places where that chicken just had the most suspicious taste in the planet. This is what I have to say about that. There is information going around about how it's possible that they don't even feed you the right stuff here in America. Like they could be feeding you anything. But I'm thinking, let's say that that is true. Let's say that I'm thinking I'm ordering chicken and I am being served God knows what animal. If I try it and I end up liking it, I, but please do not be deceiving me. I feel like that's something that should be illegal. So I'm not saying that this is something that happens. I don't have evidence. I cannot prove this. This is just from stuff that I have read, and you know that online anybody can say anything. But when I think about the stuff that I had tasted, and it just tasted completely unlike what I'm used to. Like, I know what to expect when I order sesame chicken. But if I go to place A and B and I have a decent experience, but then place C just absolutely does not resemble any of it, I'm like, what the hell are you feeding me? So I cannot help but be suspicious. And when I have gross ass chicken like that, like what I'm describing right now, the suspicious taste, it makes me want to quit having chicken. But then I tell myself, I cannot condemn every form of chicken just because I went to a particular place that actively does not know how to handle their chicken, you know? So that's just something to bear in mind. The Mandela Effect is a deep rabbit hole, fam. Yes, and we are here for that. I will resume once I catch up with the comments because I always feel bad that the comments just sit there for a bit. I cannot stand ranch on salads, but the reason I stopped eating chicken, my family cooks chicken every single day, I meant every day. I mean, every day I couldn't take it anymore. My cousin, back in the summer of 2003 ish, she was staying at home. I forget why. She was staying at home for like 2 months. All that lady kept requesting my mother makes was mashed potatoes. What do you want to have for dinner? Mashed potatoes. What do you want to have along with this chicken? Mashed potatoes. Mashed potatoes. Mashed potatoes every fucking day for 2 months. That lady wanted. Why? I don't know if it was the way mom made it that she was just in love with, or if she actively was a mashed potato fan, but just give the fucking mashed potatoes a break. If you're going to be having an affinity for potatoes like that, at least make them fried potatoes. I don't believe in fried chicken, but I believe in fried ass potatoes. Okay? But it was insane. Anybody would mention mashed potatoes outside my home, and I would be so sensitive about it. I would see it in menus at restaurants, and I would start losing my mind. I would start tensing up, and I'm like, do not mention mashed potatoes. We do not talk about mashed potatoes. It just traumatized me forever. But when I was a kid, my taste back then was I hated potatoes. I actively did not like mashed potatoes, not even with gravy. But eventually, I somehow stumbled upon some good mashed potatoes, and then I said, hey, mashed potatoes are not as gross as I remember. And then I always remind myself of the time when I used to love bananas. And then somehow one day I woke up and I hated them for about 6 years. Then I came back and gave bananas a try in a smoothie. I liked them. And then I said, what if I tried the plain banana again? Because I don't like banana things. Like there are banana candies, banana bread, banana. I don't like that. But little by little, I started reintegrating bananas into my life. And I'm like, what happened to me? What the hell happened to me for 6 years to where I hated bananas? I went absolutely bananas for 6 years over bananas. But somehow I just tried it again in a smoothie that someone bought for me. It's not I actively ordered a smoothie that had a banana in it. Not at all. This was a gift from someone. And I could taste the banana, but it was so heavily blended with blueberries that I could not like distinguish it like that. I'm like, the banana in this smoothie does not bother me because there's other stuff canceling it out pretty much. But yeah, that was rough, man. Mashed potatoes for 2 months. Just, I could not have a side with any of my meals because I hated mashed potatoes. Uh, oh, and on the note of ranch, I don't mess with dressing in my salads, but lately I have been messing with Caesar dressing just for a little while and balsamic vinaigrette. That is my go to dressing. Although, if I'm at home, I tend to use olive oil. It may sound weird, but I promise you that if you take spinach and toss parm in it and olive oil is pretty good. And if you don't like parm cheese, which you have to be a monster in this society to actively not like parm, try feta. That is definitely a good replacement for parm, especially if you're using vinegar, something vinegarish. I promise you, it's really good. Let's see. I will be praying. I appreciate that. Also, the hair be looking nice like that. Thank you. It looks like, you know, when you wash your hair, or well, maybe not you, but like when most girls wash their hair and they like turn the towel into a turban. That's what I feel like. I feel like I'm wearing a towel on my head. But thank you. Coconut is on fire. Good. That tastes so good. That takes you back to the 90s. Yes. If you want solid evidence for the Mandela Effect, search up the CERN Mandela Effect, Mandela video on YouTube. I am going to write that down so that I don't forget. Because if I don't write it down, I'm not going to lie. I do not go back through my streams given how lengthy they are. And comments on the stream do not turn up so easily on some occasions. But yeah, I am very interested. Mandela Effect. I have written it down. Give me 2 years to get to it. I feel bad at how slow I am at getting back to things, but I promise you that I get back to things. The signs they hold up are pretty much proof. I am addicted to potato. potatoes can be nice. Matter of fact, I do like mashed potatoes now. I don't love them. Like, I don't see them on the menu and I'm like, potatoes! Like, not at all. But I give them a chance. I give them a chance. 2003, I was 14 back in the day. And cool story of your cousin. Mashed potatoes, I want to try it. Mashed potatoes are great when you melt cheese into it and then fry balls of oil in a skillet. I have had mashed potatoes with cheese, and I also like to add a wee bit of black pepper. And I also like to put broccoli in it, which reminds me, I have not forgotten that I promised you guys that I would record me baking a potato so that you see how I load that mug up. Stacks upon stacks upon stacks of cheese and broccoli, and you just have to see it. But it's coming. Slowly but surely. Some people eat onions like apples, eat lemon like apples. I didn't like bananas at all, but I do like banana pudding. Nowadays, I do eat bananas a little bit. Banana pudding. I cannot mess with it. I do not mess with it. I don't think I have even tried it, and I don't think I have the guts to try it. I can tell that banana pudding is going to treat me the way that guac treats me, which is guac is amazing, but you need to have something crunchy to go with it. Because if I take a spoon and just shove it into the guac and then life doesn't treat me well. But if I have something like chips, tortilla chips, or like have a burrito and then spread some guac in there, sure, that's good. But guac by itself, I cannot do avocados by themselves. And it's just that freaking texture in my mouth. It's just, I can't deal with it. It's weird how texture can alter your perception of something so bad. I don't have issues with pudding. In fact, I love pudding, like chocolate pudding. Give it to me. But something about like guac is just strange to me. And I shouldn't be comparing guac to pudding, but the texture. The certain puddings tend to be really silky, velvety type of deal. Guac isn't, if that makes sense. Banana pudding will love you, Zambri. Texture, you're missing out again, Zambri. You're killing me. Well, you're killing me too. But anyways, let's get back to some Mandela. The Looney Tunes. I got this wrong. I used to think that it was the Looney Tunes, Toons, and not Tunes, Tunes. I noticed that it said Tunes when I was like 11 or 12. I was watching them on Cartoon Network. And I was like, since when is it spelled Tunes? Why is it not tunes? If I'm watching a cartoon, it is Looney Tunes. When did it become a tune? Like music related? That messed me up for like a solid year. Like, why? Why do I remember seeing Toons? But it never happened. And then I thought, well, I was a kid. I was stupid. Kids are stupid. But then I thought, I don't misremember everything about my childhood, because if I misremembered everything about my childhood, I would not know how to spell. This is not a spelling problem. This is a problem of what did you initially see and what do you initially remember. But it messed me up because everywhere I went to, I swore it was Looney Tunes. Toons. but it's not. It's tunes, like dancing to the tune. It almost makes, the caption here says, it makes almost zero sense, but yes, the cartoon was spelled as Tunes. The Berenstein Bears is probably the most famous one that I hear of. Um, some people say they remember Berenstein, Stein, but it's actually Bernstein. I did not grow up watching those. In fact, I really didn't know about them because nobody in my family really watched them that I can recall. So I did not hear about them until fairly recently. Like, probably until Shane put out his conspiracy theory video in which he mentioned them. And I'm like, I never heard of the Bernstein Bears. But when I saw the example, I would have been inclined to think of it as Berenstein because I feel like that's what I see more often than Berenstain. I feel like I tend to see names that end in Steen more often than Stain, if that makes sense. Curious George's Tale was never there. Are you freaking out? Okay, moving on. I vaguely remember him, but I would be inclined to favor the image of him having a tail. If you gave me these images and you told me, Zam, pick the real one, the correct one, I would be like, the one with the tail? Why would you not include the tail on a monkey? Only Saiyans get their tails removed, but not this. Then there's that one show, Sex in the City. While these four women were having sex in the city, the show was actually titled Sex in the City. I always thought it was Sex in the City because I do know how to read. But yeah, I never thought it was in the city. I always knew it was and. So whoever messed that up, you need to slow down, okay? Oh, this one messed me up so bad the first time I was made aware of this. Febreze. Apparently, we tend to think that it says breeze, Breeze, but it's actually just Febreze, Febreze. I swear, all this time I have seen two E's in it, but we're wrong. Oscar Mayer. For some reason, one of the most confounding of all, there's an A in Mayer. Honest to goodness, we thought it was Meyer. I've always thought it was Oscar Mayer, not Mayer. And even though I knew that we pronounced it Mayer, I would spell it as Meyer. Fucking weird. Skechers, less sketchy than most people have been befuddled to see that there's no T in Skechers. I knew that there was no T in Skechers only because I remember being in high school and I was like, although I hear the word Skechers and I'm thinking this is a person sketching a drawing, making a sketch, because people pronounce it Skechers as opposed to Sketcher, you know, like making that T pronunciation that nobody pronounces that. But I'm just saying, I didn't pick that up. Then I thought, Skechers for the shoes doesn't have a T. It wouldn't make sense for it to have a T because it's not related to art. And in addition, this has been reinforced by the fact that I sell clothes. So I definitely know how to spell Skechers. And I personally have a drawstring bag that keeps me aware of how there isn't a T. Because it also makes the word look oddly lengthy when you throw a T in there. Whereas when you don't have a T on Skechers, it looks as bold as I remember it. Looney Tunes did have a serious episodes like fighting Nazis, showing reality of evil things back in the world in the 40s, and the future cartoons have racisms back in the 40s and 50s. That's true. Hello there, you finally popped back up, my friend. Yes, I did. And I am so happy to be here because I love doing this so much. And every time I'm away, all I can think about is I haven't streamed, I haven't made a video, I haven't streamed, I need to make a video, I miss it, I need to come back. And I was talking one of my friend's ears off about it. I'm like, when I get back to recording, I can't wait to record, I can't wait to create. I like being social when I'm online. I like making videos. Like, I like to talk. Like, I'm by myself in my room. This is my only opportunity at speaking when I'm away from work. Like, yeah, anybody over? But then I'm like, I just need to calm down, you know. Everything happens when it's the right time. Kellogg Fruit Loops had been spelling fruit like that for years and we only noticed it now. If you were to ask me to spell the cereal, like using my keyboard or using my hands, I would spell it as Fruit Loops, like the actual word Fruit, loops, of course. But in my mind, when I hear of the cereal, I do imagine it exactly as what the box states, which is FROO. The design of the O is from the cereal, the loops. FROOT. In my mind, that's the picture that comes up. But if you tell me, Zam, mail this letter to Fruit Loops, Kellogg Fruit Loops, the division of Fruit Loops in Kellogg, I would have spelled it FRUIT because the writer in me forces me to be formal. But if I'm being artistic, then I would remember that it is not fruit, the word fruit. It is actually FROOT with the design of the cereal. So I did know that it said FROOT. I can see it. King Henry VIII's turkey leg. For some reason, people distinctly remember this portrait showing the King of England wielding a turkey leg. To be clear, he was not. I remember hearing about that when I was studying Henry VIII. And even my teacher mentioned that the picture had him holding a turkey leg. And I always thought that he was a troll. And I was like, I don't know where he's getting that from, but I do not see how that's a turkey leg. And then apparently they have another picture in which he's just like, as opposed to like holding a turkey leg. And I'm thinking that this is actually pretty mean because you're looking at this guy and you're like, this guy was such a fat fuck. Why would he not be holding a turkey leg in this portrait? It only makes sense that he's holding a turkey leg if he was known for being a fat fuck. But he's not. That is probably our perception. Like, we see this guy who's chubby, and eating in excess tends to be synonym or like equal to wealth. So because we know that fact in the back of our heads, we're thinking, back in the day, people used to show that they came from wealth by eating in excess. Then, maybe that's your eyes just filling in the blank. And it also doesn't help that he was known for being a glutton. So I think what happened there was our brain just did that. Whoever thought that he was actually actively holding a turkey leg, I think that's what they had in the back of their minds. And they just could not help but attach that, I guess, concept onto him, even though it's not there, if that makes sense. Oh my god, this one messed me up too. The Monopoly Man and his monocle. Or more like the fact that he doesn't have one. I always thought he had one. But doesn't the brand Pringles have a character like that? Similar in like physical appearance? Maybe the style of the character? I used to think that Pringles also had a monocle, and I think he doesn't. Or maybe he does, and now I'm confusing it. Confusing it. Planters is another brand that I associate with maybe the mascot having a monocle. And now I'm thinking, what is the mascot of Pringles? Doesn't even have one. And I feel like it's that little yellow character. But am I making that up? Or am I misassociating the mascot that I'm thinking about in my brain and I'm attaching it to the incorrect brand? But I do think that Planters does have like the little skinny character looking thing with the monocle and then that really tall hat. Now I'm not sure, you know? Another example is Pikachu's tail. Many of us clearly remember black detailing on the Pokemon character's tail, but in reality it's just yellow. I never thought that Pikachu had black on his tail. I did know that he had brown at the root of the tail, but I never thought of him having black on the tail at all. The hyphen in Kit Kat. If you have just had an existential crisis about the fact that there's no hyphen in between Kit and Kat, know that you're not alone. I used to be that person who thought Kit Kat had a hyphen. I only, maybe a year ago, did I learn that it did not have the hyphen. And I was so disturbed. Fruit of the Loom logo. It used to have a, I don't know how to say that, cornucopia? Anyway, it's that little basket looking sack thing behind the fruit, right? Right? I grew up wearing a lot of Fruit of the Loom clothing, so I remember the tag of my shirts not having that little bag looking thing that I cannot pronounce. But when I think about the standalone logo, like say, if I buy clothes that come in a bag and the Fruit of the Loom logo is like slapped in the front, I feel like I see that there. But I know for a fact, especially now that I sell clothes, I know that that's not there. Like that brown thing is not there. But I can see why people would trip on that one. Because I think of it as a standalone logo. When I think of it that way, I do see that. Cheese It or Cheese Its. We swear there used to be an extra Z at the end. What is happening? I used to be that person too. I used to think that there was a Z at the end, but it's just Cheese It. Double stuff Oreos. If you're trying to tell us there isn't a second F in stuff, our lives have officially been a lie. When I was in 7th grade, or when was it? I don't remember how old I was, but I know that I saw these things. Maybe I was like 14. I don't think I was that young. I think I was like 14 or 15. The first time I noticed this Oreo, the first thing I noticed was that there was an F missing in the word stuff. And I'm like, are we supposed to call it stoof? Stuff? Stuff? And it bothered me so much. I thought that no one caught this typo. But then I got used to it to where I don't mind it anymore. But I did know that there was only one F. So I am pretty observative. Mona Lisa's smile. There are a lot of theories about this one, but so many people have claimed that she used to have a more obvious smile. I have always thought that she has a bit of a smile, like maybe a slight rising of the corner of the mouth, but I never thought that she had like something extremely wide or anything pronounced. Uh, yeah, I don't know what to say on that one. I would feel inclined to, if we have a side by side of which painting is the real one, I would have chosen the one with the more dramatic smile, if that makes sense. So I guess I am a victim of that one. C3PO has a silver leg. Even the biggest Star Wars fans and Halloween costume sites get it wrong. Get it wrong. The robot isn't all gold. He has one silver piece on his right leg. I don't know why my freaking nose is congested. I'm not sick in any way now. And this just happened to me like yesterday. And it is so hard to pronounce things that have an N in it. Ugh. But when it comes to the silver leg, I never noticed it until when I was 17. I rewatched stuff like the original trilogy, and I was like, hey, what is wrong with C3PO? There is something off about his legs. Is that TV? Because this movie's so old. You know how it gets fuzzy if you're watching it on like VHS? And nobody could confirm to me that that was a silver leg. And then I feel like within the movie, they say something about it. They're like, oh yeah, he was made from like so many parts of so many droids or something. Or maybe he is another prototype. Like originally, there might have been a silver droid and then he became the official droid. Did that happen or am I making that up? But I feel like there was an original silver droid and then he had to have that leg put into him or something. I don't know. I don't remember fiction. All right? So like go easy on me. Oh my god. The Flintstones has two T's. I have known that. It's just I guess our pronunciation of things, it's easier to say Flintstones than Flintstones. So yeah, I hear people say Flintstones, but I have known that it is the Flintstones. Because I can read sometimes. Do you recall someone telling you that chartreuse is a magenta pink color? So many others agree with you, but in reality, it's a shade of green. I don't know what that is. I don't recognize that. Life is like a box of chocolates. A quote from Forrest Gump. I always think Forrest Gump is actually Forrest Grump. There's a Mandela effect for me. Played by the amazing Tom Hanks, actually said, if you listen closely, he says, life was like a box of chocolates. We're regretting all of those Instagram captions right now. I fortunately do not do Instagram, so I don't embarrass myself like that. But maybe on Twitter I have. Oh my god. Mirror, mirror on the wall. Nope, that wasn't a line in Snow White either. In fact, the Wicked Queen says magic mirror on the wall. Yep, our childhood has been ruined too. I don't specifically remember that scene in Snow White. I remember it, of course, but I don't really remember dialogue that well. But I can say that I have heard songs and even TV shows and movies that go like mirror mirror on the wall, who's the cutest one of them all, or something something. And in NSYNC, they had a song. It was called Up Against the Wall. And at some point, that song has like a little breakdown or something. And it goes like mirror, mirror, mirror on the wall, who's the cutest one you saw. I remember that very vividly. And I said, oh, hey, they're quoting Snow White. And it turns out that they quoted it wrong. But it's a song. So when you're creating a song, you gotta alter some phrases to make it more suitable, you know? But yeah, I used to think that originally the original quote is mirror, mirror on the wall, but not magic mirror on the wall. That's weird. Really weird. And of course, the Luke, I am your father. Honestly, this was the one that cut deep. Perhaps the most famous movie line in history wasn't even said. All he really said was, I am your father. Zurg in Toy Story 2 says, no, I am your father. Or does he say, no, Buzz, I am your father? I think he says, no, Buzz, I am your father. So if he says that, I used to watch Toy Story more often than Star Wars. So I used to think that the no was there. But yeah, I was one of those people who usually quotes us as, look, I am your father. Why would we think he says Luke? Nobody usually mentions the name of the person you're speaking unless you're like really upset at the person, right? I never use mom's name when I'm speaking to her. I don't really refer to her as mom much. Not even to get her attention. I just walk up to her and I just start talking. I don't need to be like, hey mom. No, I just talk to people. Come to think of it, no one really says my name either. Like, no one goes like, hey Zeb, this and that. No. We don't use people's names. Because when you become familiar with someone, you just don't need to. That stuff can be omitted. So yeah, I think that's pretty silly. But yeah, I used to think that because everyone used to quote it as Luke, I am your father, then I accepted that it was Luke, I am your father. But the fact that my movie retention is terrible doesn't help. Run, you fools. This was said by Gandalf. What if I told you guys that I have never seen Lord of the Rings? I hear that I am missing out. I intend to catch up with it, but just whenever life allows it. Hello, Clarice. We don't know what's scarier, the fact that we remember Hannibal Lecter saying hello, Clarice, or the reality that all he said was good morning. Say what? Is it Clarice or Clarice? I have never seen this movie or TV show. Are you a movie or a TV show? It's black and white, so it's before my time. Don't judge me. I don't watch TV. Of the world, like dot dot dot. Your favorite song? The Mandela Effect is here to ruin that too. We all think of Freddie Mercury belting out of the world at the end of We Are the Champions, but it never happened. I don't remember that song off the top of my head. The only song I know by Queen Fred Mercury is Bohemian. What's it called? It's not Bohemian Rhapsody, is it? I forgot the name of the song. It's Bohemian something. I don't listen to him. I don't listen to them. So I am not obliged to get the title right. Oh, there was that ad that has like things falling down and it tripped me so bad. I'm like, what is happening to my screen right now? Let me catch up with the comments. I love all your stories, Zambri. Well, the whole point of this channel is for me to tell them. Most people like to spell days or days school or school. I occasionally, when I am being a troll or not serious at all, I spell Skool. Like school. Or if I'm being extra silly, I spell it Skewl. Skill. I don't know why I do that. It's pretty dumb. Or old, so much more word sounds the same but spelled differently. I do see curious movies making it into comedy that most people don't notice sudden scene, and most movies have sweet delete scenes. Oh my god, yes! There are so many movies that have deleted scenes that I think should have been kept. If you guys haven't seen this already, James Cameron's Titanic movie, there are so many cool deleted scenes that I'm like, this would have added to the movie. Make the movie 5 hours long. I don't care. Just include those fun scenes. Like the scene of how Lovejoy ended up with his head busted. It's not necessarily just that, like, he got hurt because the Titanic is like breaking apart and maybe debris got him or something. No, there was like an actual brawl between him and Jack that we never fucking saw in that what is it, dining room scene. And then this is my favorite deleted scene when they hit the iceberg and then Jack and Rose are like actually inspecting the side of the Titanic. And then Rose, I guess, takes a piece of ice and then like slides it, drops it down Jack's shirt. And then of course the ice like slides down and whatever. And then they're like toying around, fooling around, and then Jack gets mad or something. And I think he tries to put ice on her too or something. I kind of forget. It's been ages since I saw that scene. But I'm like, that scene is so adorable and you fucking deleted it. Why? Why? And then there's another scene that happens at like the lower decks. Rose actually visited third class. And everybody, of course, was just staring at her because, this majestic creature visiting us. And I'm like, oh, that makes sense. That's how she would know how to be at the deck, lower deck, you know? So, so many freaking beautiful scenes that just didn't make it to the final cut. But at least the scenes were eventually released. I am satisfied because I can piece it together. Mr. Rogers' theme song. You might start singing the lyric. It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood, especially with the upcoming Tom Hanks film, but even the movie makers got it wrong. It's a beautiful day in this neighborhood. A small, mighty blow to our memories. I vaguely remember. I didn't really mess with Mr. Rogers much. Number of U.S. states. The correct answer is 50. Obviously, but some Americans and foreigners alike recall learning that there were 51 or 52. Why? What kind of monster are you? I'd never heard of that before. There being 51 states or 52? Never has that crossed my mind. I have never encountered that at all. Sinbad never played a genie. I heard of that, like the Shaquille O'Neal stuff, but I don't remember that. I never saw that. Smokey Bear. Oh my god, there is such a good death battle of Smokey Bear and I forget the name of that dog. But you guys need to see it. Smokey Bear Death Battle here on YouTube. Check it out. It is hilarious. It is absolutely hilarious. Oh man, now I want to watch it. Tank Man. It has a video attached to it. We ain't gonna watch it. Neil Armstrong's death. Oddly enough, people had no recollection of the aeronautic legend's death. many fans apparently forgot or didn't notice the news of his passing in August 2012. I remember where I was August 2012. I think I missed it because around that time I was actually moving to another city. And so was my mom, of course. And I remember that it was a particularly busy time. So it's possible that we were not connected to like the internet yet. Did we have internet? Huh? I think we moved in June though, June 2012. Yeah, we did move in June 2012 because I remember that someone I know has a birthday on August 21st, and I got on my email on my laptop at home and emailed them happy birthday because at the time something happened with my phone and I couldn't text this person. I remember now. But I don't remember the news of that. I thought this dude died like ages ago. Yeah, he was alive until 2012. News to me. Billy Graham's death. Like Mandela, many cannot place when Billy Graham's funeral aired on TV. That's probably because it didn't happen long ago. He died in February 2018. I feel like I remember seeing that trend, but I cannot say I actively can place it now. Mother Teresa's canonization. People have strong opinions about when Mother Teresa was canonized as saint. The real event happened in 2016, but many remember her entering sainthood in the 1990s when she was still alive. Ah, fuck me. Space Shuttle Challenger explosion. Though the tragic accident took place on January 28, 1986, there are a number of people who thought it happened in 1984 or 1985. Now, when it comes to like an exact year, it is much more difficult to nail that compared to, what can I say? Like, if you get the decade right, say, if you say, oh, that happened in the mid 80s, I think that is pretty acceptable. You don't really need to be too anal about it. Like, I wouldn't be upset if someone thought it happened in 1984 or 1985. In reality, it happened in 1986. I, as a person who loves science, I know for a fact that it was 1986. Like, I what I do mess up is I tend to think that it happened in February instead of January. But I never forget the year. But yeah, no big deal if you think it happened in 1984 or 1985. The sole fact that you're only 2 years away from the right answer is like, come on, you're there. Lindbergh baby. When aviator Charles Lindbergh's infant son was kidnapped, the entire world focused their attention on the story. Many remember the case going cold, but they sadly found the body and sentenced the killer to death for the heinous crime. Huh? Patrick Swayze's health. Though the actor sadly died after being diagnosed with pancreatic cancer, people have said they remember him recovering. Shit. Leonardo DiCaprio's first Oscar. Though Leo finally took home his first Oscar for Best Actor in 2016, countless people argue he scored one much earlier. It's easy to get this confused though because he was previously nominated 5 other times. Yes, I remember my boyfriend back in 2009. He told me, "Did you know that Leo DiCaprio has never won an Oscar?" And I'm like, I don't give a shit. But I feel like he has won awards. Come on. He's done some good movies. So why would he not get an award? It seems like anyone ever who makes it into like a top movie for the year on something, they get an award of some sort. And then I didn't fucking believe him. So I looked it up. And lo and behold, he's never won an Oscar. Not that that impacts my life in any way, but I'm like, why am I such a goddamn liar in my head? Why do I think that this man has fulfilled things that he hasn't? Accomplished things that he hasn't? Earned things that he hasn't? But just because you don't get an award doesn't mean that you're not talented. So maybe that's part of our trauma. Think we love this actor. He's got great movies. He is amazing in his performances. He definitely has gotten an award. Every single award. Like they're the Golden Globes. I don't know what those are. Shit, I'm not even sure what the Oscars are. I know that they're film stuff. But just this goes to show you just how much I don't care about award shows like this. Especially people I'll never meet. But yeah, I would think that it's no big deal. But in his career, it is. But for me, as an average person, I just cannot place any importance to it. Location of Disney World Castle. If you've ever been to the Magic Kingdom, do you recall where the castle was located? Some even Some, even one Orlando local on Reddit, clearly remembers it being at the entrance of the park. I've never been to Disney, so I have nothing to comment on that one. And that is it, you guys. It appears I have reached the bottom of the list. So yeah, let me catch up with the comments, and after that, I will bail. Uh, let's see. Terminator 2 has deleted scenes. I like the ending too. And why movies always have police come late after bad guy gets killed, having black men get killed first. Oh my god, yes. For the longest time, I had never noticed that in movies they get rid of the black guy fairly quickly. And then it wasn't until I was like in high school or something that people started mentioning it. Like we would watch movies in class and some folks would go like, can't wait to see the black guy getting killed first. And I'm like, that is so messed up of you to say. And like, come on, Zam, do not act like you don't see this happening. And I'm like, no, I don't take movies seriously to be picking up on those details. And then I finally started actively looking out for that when I would watch movies. I felt so terrible. Like, I do not acknowledge the fact that there's a lot of unfairness going on in movies and the way we're represented. I felt terrible. I will watch Titanic deleted scenes and why movies have people do dumb things in movies do not get away from the bad guys. Every please make topic about what happened the no rap music in the world, and Adam and Eve are the only couple in the world. Our cars didn't exist, are having the same taste in food. If you want to, go ahead and tweet that to me or message that to me so that I don't forget, because I don't have my vlogging clipboard with me. So if I don't write it, if I don't see it in a message or something, then I will forget about it. So, yeah, just send that to me for me. Actors need to stop complaining about awards because they have millions of dollars. That's their awards. Yeah, definitely. Movies being tripping. Yeah, like when I do something in my profession, I don't do it expecting an award. So after you have amassed so much wealth and you have reached this level of success, why would you be concerned about having your name plastered on something? Like, I think you need to pay for your star in Hollywood. Why would you want to do that? Why is it important to you to have your legacy in like I think it comes from this culture that we have, the culture of celebrity worship. And maybe you need to have a permanent stamp or something. I'm not saying you cannot experience a great source of pride from getting an award of such distinction. But if you're tripping over that, I feel like you just need to reevaluate your values because there's just more to what you do than that. I don't know. I cannot imagine a life in which I'm here. Let's say that I'm on YouTube for like 20 years and I accrue maybe 1 billion views. Oh, well, why does no one talk about the fact that my channel has 1 billion views? I accomplished it. It's hard. I don't do it for that. But maybe as an average person, it is easy for me to not be sidetracked by that stuff, not be interested and dragged into that stuff. So maybe that's it. But but yeah, when famous people trip about it, it's like, are you really tripping over it, or are you letting people who you see online being upset that they are your fans and they expect for you to win, but you didn't? Are you letting their upsetness upset you with something that you weren't upset about? I don't know. But maybe this is someone who grew up in a competitive environment. And when you're growing up and you're competing in sports, competing to be like on the spelling bee or something, growing up, you tend to have a competitive mindset. And I feel like some people may not break away from that, not even in their adulthood. And I know that competition is what keeps transforming the landscape, right? It transforms work. It also means that we have more things available on the market because people just try to get creative to have the next big thing or something. But why can't you just be happy with the way things are? Just satisfy yourself to the best of your ability as opposed to feeling like you need to be bringing everybody else down. I think that's weird. Maybe that's not what it is about, but I feel like these people just grew up into remaining at a kid's thought level when it comes to competing. I want to compete to receive this award as opposed to telling yourself, I am going to compete so that I can prove that I have skills. I do not need to be rewarded for this. I do not need to have a trophy for this, but just to be recognized for the fact that I got skill. I find that more valuable. People acknowledging that I got skills. I find that more valuable than having an actual piece of material, golden material, if I'm like number one. You know how the ranking tends to be, if you're number one, you get gold. Number two, you get silver. Number three, you get bronze. I'm not thinking about that. I'm not thinking about I need to get something shiny that's golden for me to define my value. I just don't need that. So I feel like these people just never grew out of that. Me too. Famous people have too much pressure to be perfect because they have money and fame, too much egos, and rich people are only humans need juices, water, health, take life, or take like normal people. Yep. I often think that once you reach that stage, you start living in a bubble inevitably, and you have to be someone who really is genuinely interested in staying on track of what's happening in the world beyond their world as they know it, you know? Because I find that odd that there's some famous people who you would think would be intelligent because you're from the upper class, you get paid well, you have an education, but somehow you're so detached from reality. And when I think about it, I cannot be too harsh on them because, as someone who just doesn't have time for a lot of things anymore, I feel like I could be better about the things that I know, and I know that I am severely ignorant on a lot of things, but I like to invest my time on the things that I'm actually interested in. And some of the things that I happen to be interested in happen to be the things that are happening around the world and locally, politics, stuff like that. But if you're someone who's not into that stuff, then ignorance is pretty much a guarantee for you, which is wrong. But I think that most people tend to go out of their way to gain knowledge with the hope that the knowledge that you are obtaining will help you grow. Whereas once you obtain a certain level of success, you feel like learning new things is useless. Like, how is knowing this information going to benefit me when I do not need to know things to keep my resources? See what I mean? Of course, that's not necessarily entirely absolutely true, because if you are rich because of investments, then you better know what you're doing and have some understanding of what the world of business is. But at some point, if you know for a fact that you can count on having a well paying job like that, then your incentive to learn outside of your profession, it just decreases, you know, which is a shame. I think that humans could be happier if they um, cultivated their curiosity more. I am my happiest when I'm learning and reading and trying new things, you know, especially food. Well, guys, it's been a pleasure, but I am going to bail now because I really don't have anything else to add. I cannot think of any more Mandela Effect examples to share. And yeah, that's pretty much it for me. I'm not into being famous. Being famous is dangerous, not very peaceful. Life cannot go anywhere, and everything people will worship it or judging you. Have a blessed night. Send nice or great video. Well, thanks a lot. And I definitely agree with that. I feel like life as a famous person, everybody wants to have the attention, everybody wants to be celebrated, everybody wants to have the money, power, big house, uh, clothes, fancy clothes, be traveling to exotic places, but nobody wants the responsibility that is associated with that. Oh, I have to be harassed by fans. Oh, everybody's going to recognize me. Oh, everybody's going to take a picture of me digging up my nose. Whereas you, as an average person, no one cares about you. If you get noticed being like a disgusting human, yeah, people are going to say smack about you, but it's not like everybody's going to be looking at you with a magnifying glass. Like, say, Meghan Markle. Anything that she wears, she's going to be compared to some other bitch who's in the royal family. We don't care about that, but it's going to happen. And Meghan Markle may wear something and they may consider her vulgar because that's not her original culture, and that's not the kind of upbringing she had. So yeah, let's completely bully this lady over what she wears. Whereas what I wear, nobody gives a shit. I can have all kinds of flyaway hair on the top of my scalp. Nobody gives a shit because I'm not famous. Whereas if famous people are wearing their hair and it's not perfect, you're damaging the perception of those around you. Why would you want to involve yourself in such a hypocritical world? I just don't get it. I cannot imagine a life in which I care about stuff that's petty. Like, if you're in a desert, are you going to be giving a shit about how your hair looks? No. Your top priority is going to be finding water and food and shelter and shade and how to cool yourself down. I promise you. You're not going to be thinking about, I wish I had a mirror so that I could tell what my hair looks like. No, you're not going to be thinking that. And that's why I say very often you need to define your values. And that is why I have a hard time having empathy for some people, because I'm thinking a lot of things could have been avoided had you made the right decisions and had the right values, you know? Yes, famous life is not good. Yes, and I can feel Michael Jackson pain. People will judge you if you are homeless or famous. And the thing about certain famous people is that tragedy strikes, they're human. I don't want to say that like famous people do not perceive pain and do not get depressed and whatnot, because we know that's not true. But now, when I keep hearing of all these stories that keep coming out of this person is going to take a break because of their mental health, people are talking about their mental health. Why do you allow yourself to get into such a dark situation? Don't work as much. Do not expose yourself to projects that you just cannot handle. Like some people like to say, well, we need time off, or I'm experiencing a period of creative, let's call it creative dryness and whatnot. And I'm like, why? You are trying to cater to people to make $1. Like, what is wrong with you doing something else to make your ends meet and then treat your passion like your hobby? Just like me, I don't get salty just because I don't make money on YouTube. Like, I don't need this. I do this out of genuine interest. But some people have a hard time letting go of their positions and their values. And I'm thinking, if you're looking for peace, you need to change some things. And sometimes you have to let go of certain dreams, certain habits that you have in order for you to achieve peace. And that's what I'm saying. I never trade my peace for anything. And you guys have no idea how much I have sacrificed and let go of that I strongly believe in just because I want peace. Something as simple as peace. That's how much I value it. But anyway, maybe one day I'll get motivated to like share that and go more in depth with that. But for right now, I got other topics in mind, and that one's particularly personal. But maybe one day I'll share it. I don't see why not. All right. Well, thanks so much for tuning in, everybody, especially you, Jordan. I love it that we tend to hang out a lot. You always got some cool stuff to say. Until next time, I'll try to be here later today since it's past midnight for me. But yeah, I'll try to not disappear for another week. In my time filming, this is the first time I've been gone for a week. So, yeah. Bye.